The gig is up, and a lot of people are realizing there's something funny going on right now, and nobody's fooled. They're not fooling anybody, and people are waking up in droves. And I just want to cover a couple of things today because the overarching story right now for decades has been, hey, we're going to silence this movement, that movement. We're going to create a facade, a narrative, and you're going to live in this bubble, this matrix, this reality. And most people have been bought into that hook, line, and sinker. Now, when you do this restrict act, people think it's something to help with the patriotism, but really it's disguised as something more expansive than just a TikTok ban and restricting powers of certain nations, but really giving draconian restrictions on the American people and many other outsiders and giving up to $1 million in punishment, criminal fines, and things like that. But it's really just disguised as something else to grant sweeping powers to the federal government to restrict online activities of Americans and just all of this stuff in the name of privacy and safety and things like that. So I've been saying before, they're ushering in something based on an activity, right? That's what happened with the vaccines and how people are like, we need this vaccine, please save us, save us, save us. Same thing is happening with the horrific shooting in Nashville. And the point is that you have this cause and effect. And people are fed up with it, right? People are seeing between what it is and calling it out for what it really is. You think that you can convince us and trick us into believing a certain way and then have everybody, the populace, essentially beg for these things. Ever since 9/11 and many other times before that, people are saying, we want this, we want that, because they usher it in, right? And so you have to realize that in the area of news cycles, they're trying to clog the news cycles. They're trying to give you some bait to say, hey, look that way, when really they want to conceal what is going on over here. And so you have to always look at it that way. So what's coming down the pipeline, right? So you have the Epstein Island list. You have more info on the John Durham reports. They've said this in certain congressional hearings, right? So a lot of things are in the pipeline, are in the works to be exposed, to be introduced into the court system, and for whatever legal and other purposes, it's being done methodically. And so this big war going on of, hey, we need to on one side gain control of the narrative and the people. We have to make them think in a certain way and make them beg for certain things, and that's why we're introducing these acts and these different movements. You have that, and on the other hand, you have the silent war going on behind the scenes, for which all the evil people, the people in power, all the guys who have been participating in these pedophilia activities and just this human trafficking and all the crazy stuff that people think it's conspiracy. They've been doing these things for a very long time. They've been harvesting. They've been doing wicked things, right? And so all these things are being brought to light, as I've said before, and they're fighting within this. The trade deals and the drugs and just so many things, the war that's going on that nobody knows about. They have to make sure that they have the upper advantage, and that's why there's different layers, right? You don't just go out there and announce to everybody what you're doing, what investigations, what things are happening. You have to have an airtight case, an airtight operation. And so most people are not going to figure this out just because they don't have the information. And so whatever is going on there with the investigations, with the military, with secret operations, let it be, let it go on. But on the other hand, as the public is being awakened and educated and slowly brought into the fold, let that happen and progress as well, because people are at different levels and they have to digest this slowly but surely. If you are awake and you realize what's going on and people are calling you conspiracy nut jobs and just crazy things like that, just to hold your ground, let it pass. More and more people are waking up. And even if it's just a little bit, to say, hey, something's off about how the government and these guys are handling, my activity and these things, these draconian dictator type laws. Different countries are at different stages, but they're realizing, okay, maybe there is a global elite or a one world order or something to that nature that's happening. People are doing and waking up to each their own according to the amount that they can handle. And so let that be. They're not fooling anybody, but realize that you have to still be alert for false flag events, for distractions, and you have to look at it from the perspective of what are they trying to hide and what do they not want out there in the open. The Epstein Island list is a big one. The Durham stuff is a big one. There's many other things that will come out in the pipeline. They don't want Trump to quote unquote run again. They don't want him to come out there and just do damage and expose and all that stuff, right? So there's a two-tiered justice system right now. There's people that have been doing all these things, but they never get their time of day in the court, or seemingly, right? But look at how they go so fiercely against Trump and many of these other guys. And so this is the battle that they've won in some sense for a long time, but the tide is turning, because what you have to have is the people on your side. They have to be brought into the fold in terms of education, acknowledgement, and the belief that, okay, this really is happening. It's not enough just to hear it and just believe it, but they have to see it with their own two eyes. Out of sight, out of mind is what people are trying to counter. The white hats, the patriots, these guys. And that's what's going on right now. And so hold tight and make sure that you are taking this time and using it wisely. Get closer to the Lord, because God is using this, as I've said, to wake people up, to stir the congregation, the body of Christ, the church. And it's being done for this next season of harvest, this next season to really align ourselves back to biblical values, to godly values, and to make sure that Christ is king, that God is placed first, the glory is given to him, and that we are actually unified as a body of Christ. And so a lot of things are happening, guys, but be aware. Be aware of these movements, these acts, and how there's a deeper meaning behind what's going on. So love you guys. Stay encouraged. Stay blessed. Talk to you guys very soon.